Welcome to our presentation on the ethical dilemma surrounding emotional support animals. My name is Kevin, and I will be piloting this discussion on how businesses, in particular the airline industry, is and should be reacting to the expanded use of emotional support animals. An emotional support animal, or ESA, is an animal that provides comfort to help relieve a symptom or effect of a person's disability. An emotional support animal can be a pet and is generally not restricted by species. These animals are used to reduce anxiety, provide trauma support, improve physical health, reduce loneliness, and induce general feelings of peace. They are often used to help passengers deal with the stress and anxiety associated with flying. Airlines, in an effort to support these individuals, allow passengers to fly with their ESAs free of charge with a prescribing letter from a mental health professional. Stepping back, it is important to distinguish the difference between ESAs and service animals. Service animals are trained to perform a specific task, like guide dogs for the blind, hearing dogs for the deaf, or medical response dogs for epileptics or diabetics. These dogs are not pets. ESAs, on the other hand, can be any animal and can be classified as a pet. Service dogs and their ability to fly with their owners are protected under the American Disabilities Act. ESAs are not. ESAs and service dogs are both able to fly for free on flights, while in comparison, the pet airline fee can typically run up to $125 per flight. Emotional support animals clearly provide a valuable service, so what seems to be the problem? Well, until recently, federal aviation and transportation agencies did not restrict ESAs to any particular species. They also did not limit the number of animals a person could bring on a flight. There was no universally accepted certification process or animal registry. Because of this, websites started popping up offering to certify your animal and send you an official looking certificate for a small fee. Passengers began taking advantage of the loose guidelines to fly their pets for free. A 2015 Good Morning America report explains.
But can I pass off my pet, Archie, as an emotional support animal without the proper documentation? I log on to the official sounding United States Dog Registry. For $254, we get the deluxe package with expedited shipping, a photo ID, and this very official looking certificate. But it means nothing because it's not a doctor's note. We'll see if just the certificate works. We call ahead to say I will be bringing an emotional support animal on board. But at the JetBlue counter, we don't even get to flash our certificate. Straight through security and onto our flight. Archie cruising the aisle and sitting right on my lap. We raise the stakes with this bunny named Leo. For $99 on ESA Registration of America, we get our snazzy but also legally useless registration certificate, but no one at Delta asked to see it. In fact, Leo's a hit.
Oh my goodness. Hi.
The airlines did nothing wrong. They're allowed to ask for documentation, but aren't required to. Their industry trade group, Airlines for America, says simply, we trust our passengers are honest in communicating their need for service assistant animal support. Both websites do inform customers they need a proper note from a mental health professional, but neither asked for proof. The first declined to comment, but ESA said their certificate is a valuable addition to a doctor's note. Animal experts say the fakers are possibly denying accommodation for people with real assistance animals.
It's like faking needing a wheelchair.
People like Sonia Lashinsky, who legitimately qualifies for an emotional support animal.
If I didn't have them with me when I was flying, it would be full-blown panic attacks. One of these days, someone's going to turn around and say, that's it, no animals in cabin at all.
As for Genevieve, she stopped traveling with Callie, admitting to feeling guilty after speaking with a friend, now leaving the flying to legitimate animals and those who really need it. For Good Morning America, Tom Yamas, ABC News, New York.
This misuse has been a major concern for many in the medical and mental health fields. There are many people in the mental health community who feel that those animals can be really important and useful, says Kurt Decker, Executive Director of the National Disability Rights Network. The airlines have sort of created this mess with exorbitant charges for people who bring their pets. It's an incentive for them to cheat. and the disability community gets it in the neck. The airlines face a difficult decision on how to balance the needs of all of their customers. There are many benefits of having emotional support animals. Millions of people in our country have seen relief with anxiety, fear, hallucinations, nightmares, nausea, depression, and memory loss through the use of an ESA. But people who need the emotional support are not the only ones that may benefit by the service. The animal itself often benefits greatly because it is provided a stable, safe home where it can feel loved and taken care of. Businesses such as airlines may also see benefits from allowing ESAs on their flights because their customers will be extremely grateful for this accommodation and may become more loyal to airlines that allow animals over airlines that do not. However, as with anything, there are also some harms to coincide with the benefits. Did you know that 15% of the population is allergic to cats and dogs? So if you have a flight of 200 people in a small, confined aircraft space, you can assume that about 30 of those passengers are going to be harmed by allowing an emotional support animal on board due to their allergies. Airlines are also put at huge risk by allowing animals on board because of the unpredictable behaviors. Emotional support animals have been known to bite other passengers, relieve themselves mid-flight, or cause a nuisance by barking and whining. This puts the airline at risk because other passengers may complain, or worse, may sue. There are even more parties involved in this ethical quandary. Lots of emotional support animal owners believe that their needs should be considered first. However, we must also take a look at the rights of the business owners, fellow customers, and/or passengers involved, and the animals themselves. People have the right to own emotional support animals, especially if it is helping them maintain a healthy lifestyle. The question we are asking is whether others have the right to not be subjected to the ESAs. Business owners have the right to place restrictions on their business practices in order to keep the highest level of safety for everyone benefiting from their service. For example, airlines have the right and obligation to protect their passengers and create regulations in order to do so. Customers and passengers have the right to feel safe while flying, and not all passengers will feel comfortable or accepting of having an animal on board, especially if it is an exotic animal. Lastly, the rights of the emotional support animals themselves must be considered. Do these animals really want to be taken on an airplane that is likely to induce anxiety and nervousness for them? They have the right to be treated fairly and with respect, especially since they devote their lives to provide care to their owners. The use of emotional support animals raises a number of moral problems. Number one, is it right to restrict the use of ESAs? By doing so, the airline industry may be rendering a great disservice. There has been an increased prevalence of mental health disorders, and many have found ESAs to provide effective treatment without the need of drugs or expensive therapies. Is it fair to restrict the use of a prescribed mental health therapy? Number two, is it right to force passengers to endure an uncomfortable or unsafe flight? In February of 2018, the Washington Post reported that an emotional support dog on a Southwest flight bit a 6-year-old girl in the face while boarding. This dog, while providing support for its owner, caused physical and emotional harm to this child and her family. Number three, is it right to question the need a passenger has for an ESA? Is it right for a flight attendant to question if a kangaroo is absolutely necessary to reduce anxiety for a passenger's flight? In order to combat the possibility of people taking advantage of the system, companies and governments have been forced to clarify what constitutes an ESA. And number four, is it right to force animals into locations or situations that are uncomfortable or unnatural? Are the requirements of animal rights activists being met? Are companies and governments looking out for the well-being of animals when writing legislation and policies? There are economic factors to consider as well. Maintaining loose guidelines on ESAs will help attract and retain customers who have pets and ESAs. An estimated 750,000 emotional support animals flew in 2017, with more flying every year. Welcoming ESAs may also build an airline's reputation as a socially responsible company that cares for the emotional well-being of its customers. On the other hand, flying with animals carries potential harms as well. Airlines put themselves at risk for litigation due to the potential for injury, perceived mistreatment of animals, or the non-standardized procedures for handling ESAs. Allowing animals on flights may deter customers who prefer to fly without animals. Airlines are also missing out on pet fee revenues when allowing pets to fly as emotional support animals. There is only one federal law that protects or accommodates emotional support animals, the Air Carrier Access Act, which prohibits the discrimination on the basis of a patron's mental or physical need for an assistance animal to assist with their disability. The right to an emotional support animal poses a lot of moral and ethical dilemmas among all who are involved. The rise of anxiety and other mental health related issues shows that it's clear there is a need for ESAs under certain circumstances. Prohibiting someone from this type of support should have moral consequences. On the other hand, private businesses can and should have the right to dictate certain policies as they see fit. Taking away this right by federally forcing businesses to comply with emotional support animals has its own set of moral dilemmas. The rampant abuse of ESAs to get free flights for pets was discrediting the validity of the ESA and service animal programs. After reports of animal bites, ESAs relieving themselves on flights, and the expanded use of unusual support animals, the U.S. Department of Transportation imposed changes in January of 2020. Changes include ESAs are now limited to dogs. Each ESA must present paperwork, which includes prescription from a medical professional, veterinary health form or vaccination records, confirmation of animal behavior form. These proposals also require passengers with ESAs to check in an hour before the general public. Airlines could also require that service animals be on a leash or harness and fit into the handler's foot space. They could also limit passengers to a maximum of 2 animals. As in a lot of circumstances, it is the disobedience or selfish behavior of a few that leads to stricter rules and guidelines for all. Were it not for those attempting to game the system, this topic likely wouldn't be as big of a concern, and the idea of compromise would be an easier feat. Allowing emotional support animals in flights, in public, or certain business environments is surely needed. However, in order to appease the needs of the public and businesses involved, there needs to be definite guidelines and restrictions. The goal in approaching a blueprint of a guideline is doing so in a way that causes the greatest net benefit for everyone. Developing a policy that balances the needs and desires of everyone on all sides is nearly impossible. It cannot be done without both or all groups being willing to compromise.